Chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita establishes a strict dualism, dividing reality into kshetra, the material field, and kshetrayagna, the consciousness that knows it. Kshetrayagna is the pure, immutable, and non-agent witnessing consciousness. It observes the field without acting. Kshetra encompasses all transient material existence, from the physical body to shifting landscapes of psychological phenomena. This creates a central tension. If the knower is an immaterial, non-agent observer, we must identify the specific mechanism that drags it into the anxieties, desires, and lethargies of physical embodiment. While Chapter 13 successfully catalogs these fundamental components of reality, it leaves the operative cause of human entanglement entirely unexplained. Chapter 14 provides the mechanical solution. The linkage between pure consciousness and material reality is achieved through the Gunatraya, the three modes of material nature. The Sanskrit word guna carries a dual meaning. It signifies a quality or attribute, and it literally translates to rope. These modes act as psychophysical vectors, chaining the eternal observer to temporary biological and psychological states. Mastering this text means understanding exactly how these three vectors condition the human psyche, dictate behavior, and determine the soul's trajectory. Verses 3 and 4 establish that creation is a product of dual causality, rather than blind physical aggregation. This is Prakriti, the cosmic womb of existence. The activating conscious principle, the Supreme Being, serves as the seed-giving father, impregnating this matrix with individual souls. Every embodied entity in the universe shares this exact ontological heritage, regardless of their species or intellectual capacity. Map the gunas as a 3D coordinate system around the central observer. The downward z-axis is tamas, binding us through cognitive paralysis. The horizontal y-axis is rajas, driving compulsive work. The upward x-axis is sattva, a golden cage tethering the soul through egoic attachment to wisdom. Moral righteousness and intellectual sophistication remain material bonds. They represent a more refined layer of the same system. These three gunas are in relentless competition. When one asserts dominance, it subdues the others. Sattvic dominance brings perceptual lucidity. Rajasic dominance manifests as greed and restless enterprise. Tamasic dominance results in cognitive obscurity and chronic mental lethargy. The Bhagavad Gita transforms abstract philosophy into a practical diagnostic tool, allowing us to observe internal emotional fluctuations without self-condemnation. Your dominant conditioning at death determines your evolutionary destiny. Deceasing in sattva elevates the soul to luminous realms. Deceasing in rajas tethers the soul to earthly spheres of perpetual struggle. Deceasing in tamas forces a descent into lower realms devoid of cognitive potential. The gunas dictate the trajectory of the soul across lifetimes, establishing the specific environment of the next reincarnation. The ultimate spiritual ideal involves becoming a Gunatita, a consciousness that has completely transcended the three modes of material nature. This requires realizing that internal turbulence is merely gunas interacting with gunas, rather than the intrinsic identity of the witnessing self. Verses 22 through 25 describe the result as radical equanimity, where the sage permits mental states to arise and pass without aversion or identification. This neutrality extends to external dualities, the sage viewing pleasure and pain, or praise and blame as mathematically equal. True spiritual liberation is the achievement of this witness position, entirely insulated from the fluctuations of material existence. Conceptual understanding and intellectual discrimination alone are often insufficient to dismantle deeply embedded karmic tendencies. To move beyond the system, verses 26 and 27 introduce Avyabhicharani Bhakti Yoga, unswerving devotional service to the Supreme Being. Because the Supreme Being exists beyond the material modes, surrendering to this source provides the escape velocity needed to recalibrate consciousness to a non-material nature. Synthesizing this intellectual map with unswerving devotion allows the seeker to step out of the material field entirely ending the cycle of rebirth to abide in unconditioned consciousness.